Welcome back. Today we're going to make a reversible high hip bikini, my favorite. I love this because it's reversible. I've got all my pattern pieces cut out as you can see, and I'm using this gorgeous 60s 70s print on one side, and on the other side I'll be using a white fabric. So the white fabric goes really nicely with the white that's actually in this pattern. So just putting the right sides together, we're just going to pin the crotch into place. I'm using, I think, about 3 pins here, but you can use more or less depending on what your sewing style is like. As long as everything is lined up neatly, then it doesn't really matter. So whatever works for you. Once you've got all those pins into place, you're going to then sew across the crotch. I'm leaving about a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. All right, so that's already done, so you can sew that together. And now just moving across to the lining. My lining has a right side and a wrong side, and so I'm just going to place the right sides together on this. However, I am going to put in some ruching, which means I'm going to put in some elastic, like a woven elastic here as well. So if you don't want to put in ruching or scrunch bum detail, you can skip this part completely and then just move on to this part. So right now I'm just lining up the center to put my woven elastic in. So I will get the woven elastic. I think it's about a 6 millimeter width in the elastic, and I never usually measure it out. So I just, once I get in there, I cut it. So it's on a roll or a reel, as you would, say. Once I've got my elastic, I will then place it behind. So there's my elastic. It's 6 millimeters wide. I'm just lining up where the center is. I'm placing the elastic behind. So the elastic comes behind and I match it up to the center there. I pin the elastic into place. That's it. So once that's pinned in, I've got the pin going through the fabric and the elastic here. And then you will then just line up. I'm using my board here that has a line on it so that I can line up my elastic and the material nicely, so it really does go down properly down through the center here. And my pins that I'm placing, the pin is actually going through the fabric and then behind the elastic, so the pin's not actually pinning the elastic, because I want to be able to move that elastic when I go to sew it, and it won't move if I put that pin through the elastic. So it goes behind the elastic. I'll show you what that will look like in just a minute, but right now it's on an angle, so it looks like it's not being matched up properly, but it is. Um, there What I love about this technique is, with this particular design, actually I've only done ruching halfway, actually no, probably a third of the way down. However, it's completely up to you. This is a tutorial, you can own it and just make it your own. So you can put the ruching in, or you can leave it out completely. It's up to you. I feel like in fashion there are no rules, and really it is what you make of it. A lot of my best work has actually come from making mistakes. I've gone to do something else and I've done it incorrectly and the wrong way, and out of that has just come such amazing artwork, because really essentially fashion is artwork. So just go ahead, ruche or not ruche, make a 3/4 ruching or a quarter ruching. It's completely up to you. And here I've pinned it all the way down, and as you can see, I haven't pinned right down to the end. But as you can see on the back here, you can see the pins going behind the elastic. And that's what you want on your project. So it's looking all very neat. And then moving on to the lining fabric, the front of it, and then placing the right side of the lining facing the right side of the lining of the back. Here I'm pinning in, and I'll show you where to sew and where not to sew, because this is the most important part if you're going to be going ahead and ruching. But if you're not doing ruching, you can just sew the crotch a 1/4 seam inch allowance. I don't even know if I said that right. So sew here on the ends, but not here if you're ruching. And if you're not ruching, you can just sew along. So there we are. I've got my main fabric together. And then I'm just simply going to place the lining on top. So both right sides are facing each other. And I'm just going to line up the edges and this crotch seam. So this is when I start pinning. I fold the seams down opposite each other. And then I will grab my pin and I will pin the crotch seam first. So it's the first thing that I put in, and then once I know that's all lined up and everything fits smoothly and flush, then I'll just go around and pin around the leg hole, both leg holes, and I'll pin up across the waist of the front and the back. So go ahead and do that. I won't bore you with my pinning process. I'll probably just speed that up a little bit. You get the idea, just pin away and go for gold. Once you've done that, we'll be then sewing where we've pinned, and we'll be leaving about a 1/4 inch seam allowance or 6 millimeters, because that's the elastic width I'll be using. So here are my final pins going in. And sewing along the leg and the other leg and the front of the waist and the front of the back as well. You can use a zigzag stitch or you can use an overlocker. It's completely up to you. I've just bought a new sewing machine, so I'm trialing the zigzag stitch in different thicknesses. So I just did a zigzag stitch. I do normally use an overlocker, my serger. It's my best friend. I usually do that first, but doesn't really matter which one you do. So this is my swimwear elastic. It's 6 millimeters thick or wide, and I love it. It's really sturdy. I'm just going to place it on the back of the right side of the fabric, along the leg hole, the top of the waist, and the top of the back waist. And you go ahead and do that yourself, and I leave about 1 centimeter on each end. There we are, all done. I do slightly make it a little bit tighter around the crotch, but not necessarily around the whole of the swimwear, just a tiny little bit around the crotch, that's all, just so that it's nice and secure. You don't get any gaping or anything like that, and everything is nice and safe. So yeah, so here we're up to just pulling through. So we're going to turn it inside out, just mind the pins. I'm so used to this process that I don't really pin myself anymore. Every now and then I get like a little scratch, but nothing really major. I know how to dodge those pins, but for you, just be careful. We're just turning it inside out now, or back the right way, I should say. So you want the beautiful print fabric to show now. There we are. Just be patient with this process. Don't pull too hard in case the pins do get stuck. You don't want to ruin your beautiful fabric. So just be really gentle Usually it's like silk and it just kind of comes through. But if that doesn't happen for you, just be really patient and just take your time. No rushing. There we are. So that's all coming through. Oh my God, this is so pretty. I am obsessed. This fabric is giving me so much happiness. I am really looking forward to going for a swim in this, and I'm also looking forward to going to dance in this because I do pole fitness, in case you didn't already know, and I'm obsessed with it. It makes me very happy. So yay. All right, so we've turned it, and now we just need to kind of iron out any of the kinks and make sure that it's nice and smooth. And then we'll be moving on to the process of joining the sides up. There we are. Oh my God, it's so pretty. So the crotch is a 4-finger width, in case you needed to know that. And just really super comfortable, and like I said, you've got a lot of coverage there as well. So enjoy making this and wearing this. Okay, so everything is becoming nice and smooth and becoming lined up. I'm just checking the stretch, making sure that there are no holes as well. You usually stretch it out and you can like sometimes see like a little hole that may not have been caught in your sewing process, because that does happen from time to time. So you would have had the ends, they're not sewn together, so they should have like little holes in them on both front and back. There we go. I'm happy with that. I do go through a little bit of a process here. Okay, so what we're going to do is just do one of the sides here. So just turning it over, and here I've just got the lining facing each other, and I'm going to pick a side, and then I will bring one side and I'll just overlap it on the other side here. Okay, so it doesn't really need to be ridiculously neat, but tidy is really nice, making sure that they're nice and flat. And then coming in through the front of the hole on the other side with my fingers and my thumb, and then pressing the finger and the thumb together and poking it through, and it should come out nice and neat on the other side. Just be careful as you unwrap this part. It's like a lolly wrapper. And then bringing that, yes, I think we've got it right. Do I have to do that again? Oh, I wasn't happy, and this is teaching you that it's best to do it properly, because sometimes it does twist, and you can usually tell when it twists, it doesn't unravel correctly. So lining everything back up again. I hope you appreciate me keeping in like the bits that I kind of fail on. Not fail, but just making sure that we get a nice smooth look and not twisted sides. So again, I'm just placing one side over the top of the other. Oops. And then pinning that and coming in through the front of the side. There we are. Coming up through there. Finger and thumb. Pin out, and then turning that inside out, holding on to that and opening that up really gently like a lolly wrapper. Yay! Yes, it's perfect. You know how we know it's perfect? The lining is facing each other, and the lining is facing each other, and the print is facing each other, as you can see. So yay, just evening up these two edges. Can sometimes be a little bit fiddly, but just lining them up and placing a few pins in there to keep it secure. And tugging on a little bit just so that they line up nicely. And putting that into place and popping in a few pins. Once you've got your pins in, you'll just need to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And yeah, I'm happy with that, and just sew across there. There we go, all done. I use my overlocker, my serger, depending on what country you're in, and pulling that out. And it's beautiful. I'm so happy. Yay! Look how neat that is. Yes. Okay, beautiful. And now we can move on to the other side. I usually turn it so that the lining is facing now, because you want the hole at the bottom of the crotch to come through. Unless you're not doing ruching, you don't have that hole, you're just closing up the sides, which means that you're almost finished and you'll be ready to wear it in a moment. Okay, so again, we're doing exactly like what we did on the other side. I am getting one side, the other side, and I'm placing it over the top. I'm grabbing my pin to secure it. And then going up through the hole that's in the crotch, up through the front, and I'm doing this on the side without the pins, and holding that and turning it inside out and coming through the crotch hole, holding onto that so you don't lose all that hard work, and then just finding all the seams. Yay. Okay, perfect. I have got the pattern facing the pattern, and I have got the lining facing the lining. Yay, I don't have to redo that. Every now and then I have to start again, but I never get to the point of sewing it in without going, oh, that didn't turn out right. I think you can always tell. So just going in there with the pins and pinning the side seams. Yay. And once you've got those pins in and everything is sitting flush, so it's nice and neat and you've got no bubbles and no crinkles, you can just put in your 1/4 inch seam allowance. And if you don't have an overlocker, I would suggest doing a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch. So the zigzag stitch will be on the outer edge, and then you will put like a straight stitch next to it just to make it a little bit more secure. Making sure that it's nice and flat is very important so that you get like a really nice clean look on the sides and it's not bulky or anything like that. There we are, all done. So we've got our side seams done, so pulling that out. If this is you and you didn't do your ruching, then you are finished. Congratulations. You can now go and put on your new bikini bottoms or pole shorts and go swim and dance. But if this is not you, you're up to the ruching stage. Okay, so turning it inside out so that you have got your lining facing up, and we're just going to sew a zigzag stitch whilst we're pulling, like a light little pull on the elastic. However, it does depend on your elastic if it is firm or not. Mine's not too firm, it's like medium, so I do like a little medium pull whilst the sewing machine is doing a zigzag stitch. There we are. Done. So I just did like a little bit of detail. I just did that, which is probably like a third down, and it just kind of gives like a cute little crinkle bow look on the back, which is really pretty. And all you need to do now is trim any excess elastic. I don't trim right up into the edge. I keep my elastic so that I sew over the elastic when I'm doing the closing seam. And there you are, all done, all finished, all ready to wear. So thank you so much for watching. I have enjoyed sharing all my stuff with you, so please go and check out the patterns at indiajean.com.